Imagine a world where the unthinkable becomes terrifyingly real. A world where the vast expanse of the United States, a nation long considered unassailable on its own soil, faces an invasion from a global power. This is not a scene from a Hollywood blockbuster, but a complex hypothetical scenario we delve into today on Stories from the Battlefield. What if Russia invaded the US? For decades, the sheer notion of a full-scale conventional invasion of the United States has been relegated to the realm of fiction. The logistical nightmares, the overwhelming military might of the United States, and the doctrine of mutually assured destruction have rendered such a scenario seemingly impossible. Yet, the value of such a thought experiment lies not in predicting the future, but in understanding the intricate layers of global power dynamics, military strategy, societal resilience, and the almost unimaginable consequences of a breakdown in the international order. It compels us to analyze vulnerabilities, strengths, and the profound human cost of even contemplating such a conflict. To even begin to construct this hypothetical, we must first establish the extraordinary conditions that would need to prevail for Russia to consider such an act. This would require a monumental shift in global geopolitics, a complete collapse of diplomatic norms, and an escalation of tensions far beyond anything witnessed in modern history. Perhaps a series of escalating proxy wars, a catastrophic miscalculation by both sides, or an internal political upheaval in either nation might serve as the catalyst, pushing the world past the brink of conventional conflict and into an arena of direct confrontation. It would be a moment when all rational deterrence fails, leaving only the grim calculus of power. Before any physical troops or naval vessels could even cross a border or ocean, the initial thrust of such an invasion would undoubtedly be invisible, launched from the digital realm. A precursor to any conventional assault would be an unprecedented campaign of cyber warfare, designed to cripple American infrastructure, sow chaos, and fracture national cohesion. Imagine a coordinated assault on the national power grid, plunging vast regions into darkness, disrupting critical services, and grinding daily life to a halt. Financial systems would be targeted, aiming to collapse markets, erase data, and trigger economic panic on a scale never before seen. Communication networks would be choked, from internet backbones to cellular services, isolating communities and hindering emergency responses. Transportation systems, air traffic control, railway networks, shipping logistics would become targets, creating gridlock and preventing the rapid movement of goods and personnel. This digital onslaught would not merely be an inconvenience. It would be a strategic weapon, meticulously designed to paralyze a nation before a single shot is fired, creating a fog of war, even without traditional combat. The goal would be to erode public trust, incite fear, and make any coordinated response incredibly difficult, turning daily life into a desperate struggle for information and resources. Parallel to the cyber assault, the battle would extend into the ultimate high ground: space. Anti-satellite weapons, both kinetic and non-kinetic, would target America's vast constellation of satellites. GPS navigation, essential for both military operations and civilian life, could be jammed or destroyed. Communication satellites that relay critical intelligence and enable global connectivity would be blinded. Weather satellites, vital for everything from agriculture to air travel, would cease functioning. This celestial attack would not only severely degrade the U.S. military's ability to conduct operations, but would also throw everyday American life into disarray, affecting everything from financial transactions to meteorology, creating a profound sense of vulnerability. Simultaneously, a sophisticated and pervasive disinformation campaign would sweep across the nation. Leveraging social media, compromised news channels, and deepfake technology, a torrent of false narratives would be unleashed. The aim would be to deepen existing societal divisions, incite political unrest, and erode trust in government institutions. Rumors of impending martial law, fabricated casualty reports, or doctored videos of internal conflict would spread like wildfire, attempting to fracture the nation's resolve from within. This psychological warfare would be a relentless assault on the American mind, designed to sow confusion and panic, weakening the spirit of the population long before any physical invasion could materialize. Then, the gravest question would loom: the nuclear shadow. Both Russia and the United States possess arsenals capable of mutual assured destruction. Any conventional invasion, however limited, would inevitably raise the specter of nuclear escalation. The initial phase of this hypothetical conflict would be marked by an intense, terrifying game of strategic deterrence. Threats and counter-threats would ripple across global channels, pushing the world to the brink. The very contemplation of this escalation would define the early stages of the crisis, casting a chilling pall over every decision, forcing leaders to navigate an unprecedented tightrope walk between aggression and annihilation, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. Now let's turn to the immense logistical challenge of a physical incursion. Geographically, the United States is largely shielded by vast oceans, making a full-scale conventional invasion of its mainland an almost insurmountable task for any nation, including Russia. The sheer scale of troop transport, supply lines, and air-naval superiority required to project significant power across the Atlantic or Pacific is beyond current capabilities. However, a more plausible, albeit still incredibly difficult, point of entry would be Alaska, separated from Russia by the narrow Bering Strait. Alaska, while vast, is sparsely populated and possesses limited infrastructure. An invasion force crossing the Bering Strait, whether by air, sea, or over ice during winter, would face immediate and immense logistical challenges. The harsh Arctic environment, extreme weather conditions, and lack of developed roads would severely hamper any advance. U.S. military bases in Alaska, such as Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson and Fort Wainwright, along with missile defense sites, are formidable defensive strongholds designed specifically for Arctic operations. Any attempt to seize or hold significant Alaskan territory would be met with fierce resistance, not just from professional soldiers, but from a resilient local population accustomed to self-reliance in extreme conditions. A seaborne invasion of the contiguous United States, or even a large-scale airborne assault, remains exceptionally improbable due to the overwhelming naval and air superiority of the United States. The U.S. Navy, with its numerous aircraft carriers and advanced destroyers, could intercept and decimate any large invasion fleet long before it reached American shores. The U.S. Air Force, supported by extensive air defense networks, would make any large-scale airborne insertion a suicidal mission. Such attempts would amount to little more than symbolic gestures, quickly neutralized and serving primarily as acts of desperation rather than viable invasion strategies, incurring immense losses for the aggressor. Given these conventional limitations, a more realistic approach for Russia in this hypothetical would shift towards asymmetric warfare. Instead of overwhelming force, the focus would be on surgical strikes, special forces infiltration, and covert operations designed to maximize disruption and psychological impact. Small, highly trained units could be inserted through various means: submarines, unmarked aircraft, or even covertly through existing civilian routes, to target critical infrastructure, assassinate key figures, or sabotage vital defense installations. The goal would be to spread fear, force the U.S. to divert resources to internal security, and create a sense of omnipresent threat. The objectives of such an incursion would likely not be the conquest of territory, but rather to inflict maximum damage, disrupt the American way of life, and possibly seize specific strategic assets. Perhaps an attempt to secure resource-rich areas in Alaska, or to demonstrate the ability to strike at the American homeland to extract concessions. These limited but devastating objectives would be designed to exploit vulnerabilities rather than engage in a direct, conventional showdown, acknowledging the impossibility of achieving a full military victory against a nation of the United States scale and military might. The immediate aftermath of such an initial series of attacks, cyber, space, disinformation, and limited physical incursions, would plunge the United States into an unprecedented state of emergency. The initial shock, disbelief, and confusion among the American populace would be profound. Yet this initial chaos would likely quickly give way to a surge of national resolve and a rapid, overwhelming counter-response. The psychological impact would be immense, forging an immediate and powerful unity against a common, external threat, overriding many internal divisions that might exist during times of peace. The military counter-response would be swift and decisive. All branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, including the vast National Guard and Reserve components, would be fully mobilized. Command and control centers operating under contingency plans would coordinate responses to cyber attacks, air incursions, and any attempts at ground infiltration. The sheer scale and technological superiority of the U.S. military, even if initially hampered by cyber disruption, would quickly assert dominance, deploying advanced air power, naval assets, and ground forces to repel any incursion. The speed of this mobilization would be crucial, demonstrating the nation's readiness. Beyond the military, the resilience of the American civilian population would be a critical factor. Communities, initially reeling from power outages and communication breakdowns, would likely organize rapidly. Emergency services, local law enforcement, and volunteer networks would become the backbone of local response, providing aid, maintaining order, and sharing information through alternative channels. The American spirit of self-reliance and community support, often highlighted in times of crisis, would shine through, demonstrating how ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances can rally together to protect their homes and their neighbors. The government's response would involve immediate activation of continuity of government protocols, ensuring leadership and decision-making capabilities even under attack. The president would address the nation, rallying support and issuing clear directives. Internationally, the United States would leverage its extensive network of allies. NATO's Article 5, which states that an attack on one member is an attack on all, would likely be invoked, triggering a global coalition in support of the U.S. This would lead to widespread international condemnation of Russia, an immediate imposition of crippling economic sanctions, and potentially military aid or even counter-actions against Russian assets globally. A crucial battle would also be waged in the information space. The U.S. government and its allies would launch a robust counter-offensive against Russia's disinformation campaign. Efforts would focus on re-establishing reliable communication channels, providing accurate information to the public, and countering false narratives with verifiable facts. Maintaining public morale, fostering unity, and ensuring that citizens have trustworthy sources of information would be paramount in preventing panic and reinforcing national resilience against psychological manipulation. This battle for truth would be as vital as any on the physical battlefield. The immediate consequences of even a limited asymmetric invasion would be profound and devastating. While graphic details are avoided, the human cost would be immense, measured in terms of displacement, loss of life, and severe disruption to millions of lives. Infrastructure damage from cyber attacks and limited physical incursions would require monumental efforts to repair, impacting critical services and the daily functioning of society. The economic fallout would be global, as financial markets would experience unprecedented instability, supply chains would collapse, and international trade would be severely disrupted, plunging the world into a deep recession. On the geopolitical stage, Russia's global standing would be irrevocably shattered. Such an act of aggression against a nuclear-armed power would lead to unparalleled international isolation, with diplomatic ties severed and punitive sanctions crippling its economy for decades. Internally, Russia itself could face severe instability, as the cost of such a war, both in resources and human lives, would likely trigger widespread dissent and potentially lead to political upheaval. The consequences for the aggressor would be catastrophic, far outweighing any conceivable strategic gains. For the United States, the long-term impact would be complex. While such an attack might initially foster a profound sense of national unity, the psychological scars would run deep. A renewed focus on national security, cybersecurity, and domestic resilience would become paramount. The nation would be forced to reevaluate its defense strategies, invest heavily in protecting critical infrastructure, and strengthen its capabilities to counter hybrid warfare threats. The experience would redefine America's place in the world, emphasizing the fragility of peace and the enduring importance of deterrence. In the midst of this chaos, it is vital to remember the unheard stories that would emerge. The quiet acts of heroism from first responders working tirelessly without power or communication. The resilience of communities coming together to protect their most vulnerable. The bravery of ordinary citizens who would find extraordinary strength in the face of adversity. These stories, often overlooked in the grand narratives of war, would be the true testament to the human spirit, showcasing hope, determination, and the unwavering belief in a better tomorrow, even amidst the darkest of times. Ultimately, this hypothetical scenario underscores the ultimate futility of such a grand invasion against a nation like the United States. It highlights the immense power of deterrence, the near impossibility of conventional conquest across vast distances, and the profound global cost of miscalculation. The scenario, while terrifying to contemplate, serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and the enduring importance of diplomatic engagement in preventing the unimaginable. It reinforces the idea that true security lies not just in military might, but in global stability, mutual respect, and the shared commitment to peace. This exploration of the unthinkable provides a chilling yet invaluable lesson. It is a testament to the resilience of a free society and the interconnectedness of our world. We hope that such a scenario remains forever confined to the realms of theoretical discussion and the narratives we share on stories from the battlefield, serving as a constant reminder of the preciousness of peace and the catastrophic price of its absence.